Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us. We're really excited right now to welcome you to the first inaugural event at Terra Nova. It's a wonderful property, 1,200 acres of beautiful, beautiful Florida land that's now being produced as a major equestrian center. I'm really lucky enough to have with me first this morning, and by the way, I'm Karen O'Connor. I have Hannah Herrig with me, and she and her husband own this property, and Hannah just finished the test ride for us. Hannah, tell us a little bit about this property, and first of all, for everybody listening and for myself and all the competitors, I just want to thank you so much for this tireless effort that you and your husband have been going through in the last sort of 18 months or so. So welcome to the show, and tell us a little bit about you and Terra Nova.
Thank you. So it's really been a family project with my husband and my parents, and I have a lot of extended family that actually came into town to help out with the event, so that's been really great. But we've been working really hard to make it a great venue for competitors, spectators, and really trying to involve the local community as well. So it's really fun to see it finally all come together after all of that.
Well, it's really interesting driving here. You have to go through a couple of cities, Tampa, and then you start heading south, and then it starts to become much more rural. And now we're in this amazing countryside of Florida that I've never been to before, and it's just gorgeous.
Yeah, that's one thing I really love about this area is when you come out here, it's a little bit more the feel of Ocala, but we're only a 30-minute drive from the beach.
That is very important. So we are now watching the CCI1 Star. Our first rider in this division is Lauren Nicholson, and she's riding a horse of her own. Mrs. Mars owns Windchase Starfire. And Windchase Starfire was bred by Phyllis Dawson in Virginia, and it's just a lovely, lovely horse. Hannah, another question for you. What's the atmosphere like in the arena? You just finished the test ride. Were the horses, did they bring their life up? Is it too early? Did they feel pretty relaxed right now? Or?
So actually, Sarah Kelson did the first test ride this morning. I'm going to do the test ride, other test ride later this afternoon. But I did ride in the schooling test of choice yesterday, and the atmosphere was great. It was a little tricky for my own horse since he lives here. He's a little bit like, what happened in my backyard? But it's really peaceful and calm and quiet, but still has a really nice big atmosphere feel at the same time.
Sure. I know other competitors that have put on competitions on their own property, and they say the same thing, that the horses are really quite startled by the activity. And sometimes it can be more difficult to compete at home because you're distracted by all the things that are going on, and your horse really isn't the same that he is on a normal basis. So it's an interesting part of this. So back to Lauren, this is just a lovely horse. I saw her ride him yesterday, and because we're based at the same property at Mrs. Mars' property in Ocala, Florida. And it's just a wonderful temperament. I think that Phyllis bred a beautiful horse. There's nothing not to like. He moves well. He's nice in his temperament. He's a gorgeous looking, small enough chestnut horse, very short coupled, but he's got all three very nice paces. And here she's in her walk exercises. There's not a lot of complexity to the FEI dressage test at the 1-star level. It's really just a question, what the judges are looking for is that the horse is obedient and that there's enough rideability with the horse, the young horse, that you can be accurate to the movements. We show a little bit of leg yield to the right there. You'd love to see a lot more crossing, but that's something probably yet to come in that horse's education. So Windchase Starfire, the preface of his name Windchase, is the farm that Phyllis Dawson has in Virginia. She's bred many, many horses, and I know that Lauren really rates this horse quite high.
Looks like a lovely test so far.
And Lauren herself is coming off of a really wonderful weekend last weekend at Fair Hill. She had both of her horses jump clear inside the time on the cross country, which there were 12 clear, so she had 2 of them, and she just rode beautifully. So she's really matured her style, and now her aids have become so invisible and yet very effective at all levels. Now we call this the riders call this the stretchy circle. The actual test calls for a lengthening of the reins to let the horse stretch. So she does a nice job of getting the neck out there, getting the horse to stay in the same tempo, and then when she gathers the reins back up, there's not really any change in the horse's temperament. She's not a distraction or an interference to the horse. She's really thrilled with that. He dropped down a little bit in front when he finished his halt, but otherwise, what a clean test.
Yeah, that was lovely.
We say, it's funny, but we say, yeah, she had a clear round in the dressage. So that is going to be a really good, solid score for all the other riders in this division to aspire to. Lauren's known for her consistent dressage scores on all horses. Rarely do you see her, out of the 20s on her horses in the dressage. That's good for, 70% plus.
Yes. Certainly setting the bar high for the rest of the division.
Sure. It's not a terribly big division. There's about 10 in this division. Our next rider is Sonia Crampton, and she is riding the horse Bonmahan Flash. Bonmahan Flash, the 2011 gelding Irish sport horse. He is owned by Pedro Gutierrez from Mexico, and Pedro rode it in a couple of events, and now Sonia's riding it for him. I don't know this horse, but I have known Sonia for literally decades. She's a very acclaimed event rider, but also does a lot of showing and does the jumpers in particular, and really enjoys all of her horses in all of the different disciplines that she partakes. So we have just an unbelievable arena. It's an arena that's not that old, is it? You must have put that in within the last year.
No, yeah, it's we got them completed in time for our test event in June, so they haven't been in that long, so this is really their first use.
And I understand it's a Worley Martin arena.
Yes.
So they sure do top class arenas. There's several arena builders, and they do as well of a job as anyone in the world.
Yes, and they've been
arena
here this weekend as well, making sure all the footing is perfect for the horses.
Sonia's into her first few movements here. Again, looking like a very smart looking test. It's done in a large arena, which means it's 20 by 60. The small arena, or the standard arena, is 20 by 40 meters. And that's a big arena for a young horse that, sometimes you end up going around and around because it's just, there aren't the sophisticated movements within this level.
Yes.
There, she's doing her leg yield to the left, just like Lauren. It looks like it could use a little bit more crossing, but that horse is slightly unsteady in its top line. Good canter transition there.
That was nice.
Very nice. As you see the horses going up the levels in the FEI classes, you will see more and more of a horse that's in more of an uphill balance, more collection of the horse's hind leg to the front end, being able to sit more so that the hind end comes up underneath. And with that development, the movements become much more sophisticated as well. There she's circling her right 10 meters. Now she comes across the diagonal at V, XR, and she's to show some lengthening strides in the trot, and what they're looking for is regularity and both the transition forward and the transition back. And she's coming up right in front of the judge at C to have a halt. She's supposed to be immobile for 5 seconds, so we go 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, 4 Mississippi, 5, and she walks forward. She'll be marked down for that one leg that stepped back. I always want to feel like when you're in the halt that the horse is actually not leaning back in any way. You want him square over all 4 legs so that there's no chance that he's going to take a step forward or a step back. Now she has her free walk. They really are looking for a big stretch, and the rider is comfortable letting the reins lengthen. Sort of let go of your horse without letting your horse go. So the free walk rates to be, you want the prints to be 2 prints over the front print, and in the medium walk it should be 1 print over the front print. It looks like she got that pretty well. Leg yield to the right. Again, it's not as free as it will be later in the horse's career. You know, you put your leg on and they're like, what do you want me to do? And now the canter. 15 meters, so it's a 50-meter circle. So that means you have to come 2.5 meters away from the sides to make the circle exactly what you want, because the width of the arena is 20 meters. Now she's going to build up into a lengthening of the stride at the canter. Again, he's now above her hand. You know, what do you think about all that, Hannah?
Yeah, I thought when she first took off for the lengthen, it seemed like a good reaction off her leg, and then it, maybe slowed down a bit, got a bit off the bridle.
Right. So from B to K, well, she'll do a half circle, 20 meters, rising, letting the horse stretch down and forward. And then at V, now she has to collect the reins without any kind of distraction. He should just accept the contact again without any kind of agitation. And now the halt. Big finish. Another
Nice
very,
halt.
very solid test.
Yes.
I think she should be happy with him. I don't know this horse at all, but it's a lovely shape of a horse, and Sonia's done a nice job. I know that Sonia did the open preliminary with this horse, and she placed. And at River Glen, she did the open preliminary, and got a 36 in the dressage. And yet the time before at Chat Hills, she got a 27. So, again, it shows that horse is right in the middle of his education. Perhaps his temperament was different when he got the 36, but what we saw today was a very relaxed test, and it should be closer to her other score that she got at Chat Hills at the 27, I would think.
Yeah, I would think so as well.
Sonia is a Canadian rider, in fact, even though she has lived in the U.S. for quite a long time. And she has ridden for Canada in her past. Of course, I remember when she competed at the 4-star level, she had a horse called Shindig and another one called Smooth Sailing, and they were both very, very nice horses, and I remember working with Sonia quite a while. So our next rider is Melissa Paul. From my records with Melissa and her horse, Uptown Indy, it appears that I think this is its first FEI competition.
Oh.
So prior to this, it's done national classes, and of course, Hannah, you offer a lot of national classes here this weekend, yeah?
Yes, we have starter level through intermediate for the national classes, and then we've got 1-star through 4-star for the international classes.
And from an organizer standpoint, what's the difference between the FEI classes and the national classes?
There's a lot more involved with the FEI classes, more rules, more officials.
You have an international official as well, don't you?
Yes.
A judge.
Yes.
That starts to get a little bit pricey.
Yes.
So it is a financial impact, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
It is. And the warm-ups are different, so luckily we have the space to have a separate national warm-up and a separate international warm-up, which makes it a bit easier for everyone.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
And we've also got all the riders riding for charities this weekend. So we've got 3 teams of riders that are riding for charities.
And is that across the levels in the FEI, or is it all in the 4-star?
It's the whole competition. So we could have a starter rider on a team with a 4-star rider.
Cool.
And they're on a team together.
How many on the team?
So they're evenly divided between the 3 charities. Mm-hmm. So there's about 50 on each team.
My goodness, that's really cool. That's awesome. And the charities?
We have SMART, which is a therapeutic riding center here in Manatee County. And then we've got Meals on Wheels Plus.
That's great.
And we've got Southeastern Guide Dogs.
Oh, wow, that's awesome.
Yeah. So they were all at our welcome party last night and giving some information about their charities.
How do you think this test is going with?
This test seems to be going
Morgan?
really well so far.
Melissa's last outing was at Stableview in September. 33.5 in the dressage, clear cross country. In fact, from what I see, this horse has never had a cross country jumping fault.
That's awesome.
And that was in the modified division. And it's got a very consistent show jumping record as well, so she must really rate this horse as a good jumping horse and good cross country horse. In the last 8 or 9 competitions, it's only had 1 pole down. We like that.
Yes. Seems our first international test is going very well so far.
Sure. And this horse is a 2012 gelding. He's full thoroughbred. He is by Scipion and out of a mare that's named Callie Bird. And she's been riding this horse in national classes since 2018, 2019. But again, all these horses are about a year behind because of COVID and the restrictions on the competitions that we were not able to run out last year. So it's funny, you can have a horse that, like for example, this horse is a 9-year-old, but he looks like a 7 or 8-year-old just because he hasn't had so much stimulus with the competition.
Yes. Yeah, we were a bit unclear of what was going to happen with this competition, but we're so happy to be able to run it.
Oh, it's awesome. And you look out at the landscape, social distancing's not a problem.
Not at all here.
It's really vast property. Horse has a very nice canter, and she's going to still be working as she goes forward to have him a little bit straighter. He's got his quarters to the inside there. The judge will see that, and she'll get marked down and have a point for that. But the canter is so nice and consistent. Good transition. And she starts her stretchy circle and is able to let the reins really go, and the horse follows that long rein down and out. We want the horses to still be in front of the vertical when they drop their neck down. So that means that in order to do that, as the neck lowers, they actually have to, the nose has to come out, the throat has to open. Now she's retaking the reins down the center line and does her final halt.
She should be really happy with that.
I would have thought so, yeah. Really good. We'll give you the scores just as soon as we get them. We haven't received any scores yet, but we will keep you posted on that for sure. And you can also follow along on evententries.com. You click onto the website, and then you drop down the menu, and you click on live scores, and that will bring up all the scores in the country, all the competitions in the country that are competing this weekend, and then you click on the event at Terra Nova, and the scores will come up for you.
Looks like we've got Lauren's score just came in. She scored a 27.6.
Yeah, the judge at C, 71%, 71.52, and the judge at B, 73.26. She'll be really happy with that.
Yes.
Like I said, rarely do you see her scores over 30. She's very classical in her dressage. She really studies it.
We have a lot of helpful links on our website as well this weekend to follow along with all the action at terranovaequestrian.com. You can keep up with this event and also see some of the other events we have coming up later this upcoming year.
So who's the mastermind behind all of this? Because this is really quite incredible.
Thank you. So my husband and I are really behind it all, and my family, of course. But my parents aren't horse people at all, so somehow they agreed to do all this.
But they probably just are so thrilled that you have such a passion. You know, not everybody has a passion as they go through their life, and you know, you have to follow that passion, and it's just wonderful, and that, you know, they get that, and they are behind you too.
Yes.
Great.
And my parents, they have loved coming out here and see it all come together, and they're really excited to enjoy the competition.
And
where
do they reside?
They are in Bradenton, which is just about an hour north of here.
I see. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. We are on to the next rider. This horse is Allegretto, and it's Missy Miller. I've known Missy for a very long time. She's very, very popular on the eventing scene. This horse, he did his last event. He's done a couple of FEI classes. He did a CCI 2-star last year. Let's see. His last event was in September, open training at Stableview. I've got that wrong. Missy did a CCI 2-star last year, but not on this horse. This horse is a 2014 gelding Westphalian. There's her 15-meter circle. Little bit more of an oval there at the end.
Yeah.
And that's really what the judges are looking for at this level does the horse have enough rideability so that you are able to be accurate? And I think tests are won by accuracy and transitions. Because if you think about it, it takes everything else to get a really good transition, either forward into a different gait or forward in the same gait and coming back as well. And the accuracy definitely plays heavily into your rideability.
Yes.
She's got a nice big step at the medium trot, but then she loses the rhythm, and now we have a disobedience there. I think it looked to me like he got a little bit heavy on her. She tried to support, and then he just, crossed the line. And I want you to support me, but not that much. A little bit, it shows up in the halt because the horse is out the back, the hind legs are out the back, and that's immediately it's like a lack of connection.
Yes.
Free walk could be a lot longer in the reins, and she's probably a little bit cautious because he's had the disobedience. She doesn't want, when she takes the reins back, for anything else to happen. Now she shortens the reins for the medium walk.
It's always hard to mentally recover when you have a moment like that, but she seems to be doing a really good job staying calm
and there he's unsteady again. So like I said, the transitions weigh heavily into your final score. Any kind of tossing of the head, any kind of resistance from the bit definitely brings the mark way down. Because at the end of the day, you're trying to get the horse to do all these different tricks, so to speak, without using his head and neck as a counterbalance. We use our arms for counterbalance, and the horse uses his head and neck for counterbalance. So that means that the head will stay still, the neck will stay very still if the horse is engaged and has his center of gravity lower and further back. It's meant to be a little bit of a lengthening. She's in a bit of trouble with him. He's just not accepting her contact. And it's really the first horse that we've seen that wasn't really settled.
Yeah.
Because it appears to be a very, very quiet atmosphere here at the moment. Stretchy circle. Now she retakes the reins. And her final movement, she's going to try to really give a good final movement to give the judges a nice, tasteful finish. Well, she'll be disappointed with the interruptions in the test, but the horse does look like it has 3 nice paces, and I know we're going to see her again in the upper level. She's riding another horse in the 4-star called Quinn, so we'll see her again.
Great. And this division is sponsored by Ackerman. We're happy to have all of our divisions sponsored this weekend.
Ackerman is a national law firm with 24 offices throughout the United States, including 9 offices located in very major urban center in the state of Florida, with more than 700 lawyers and consultants. That's a lot of lawyers.
Yeah.
And they serve businesses and families across the country. They've developed an unparalleled track record in high-stakes litigation, M&A transactions and transformative real estate developments. They've got over a century of, enterprise stability. And you can learn a lot more about Ackerman by going to ackerman.com. We're very grateful for the sponsors, and they sponsor a division. Their sponsors sponsor jumps. I'm sure that you both have been really busy on that front.
Yes, we have, and we're really grateful for all of our sponsors, especially coming into a first-time event. It's really great to have that support.
Our next rider is Laura Vandervliet. Again, a very popular rider on the tour, on the circuit, and she is down in Florida for the winter now, and she comes forward in this division with her horse FGF Papamac. And Papamac's last competition was in September at Poplar Place in the modified division, where she finished 6th and finished on her dressage score. And as we had said before, with some of these horses in the 1-star level, their dressage scores can be all over the board from one to the next because they're learning how to be consistent, but that doesn't mean that they're consistent at the moment.
Yes.
And she scored everything from 28.9 up into the 40s. So and that happens with young horses, doesn't it?
Yes.
He looks quite settled here. He is a full thoroughbred, and you can kind of see that look of the thoroughbred. He's a 2011, so he's 10 years old. I think when you're riding a thoroughbred, and especially if they're just a little bit more nervous than, say, a warm blood, you're really looking to try to just keep everything the same. Don't ask too much. Don't be too cautious. But because they have a little bit of a zippier brain and zippier step, you have to be very careful that you don't boil it over.
Yes.
A very good canter transition.
Yes.
You couldn't have asked for better weather for the day.
Yeah, we've been really fortunate with the weather.
We haven't had a lot of rain recently in Ocala. How about down here?
We haven't had a lot of rain yesterday. Of course, during the rainy season here, we get a lot of rain. But luckily, we've got lots of irrigation on all the rings and the courses to keep them where they need to be for the competition.
It's a huge effort to have irrigation on the cross-country course.
Yes.
But when you're starting with a blank slate, it really actually is part of the initial planning of where your course is going to be. And it's a Mark Phillips course. And as everyone knows, globally, he's just a wonderful course designer and understands how to develop a property from scratch.
Yes, that was helpful. When he came, he drove around on his gator and came back with a vision and made it happen.
That's awesome. It's really great.
It's interesting to watch that unfold, as the property was a bit rough to start with, and how he can kind of see through that and see what it can be.
So was it before you all purchased it? Was it a cattle farm, or was it just bush, or what was it?
It was a cattle farm.
Yeah.
Yep, there were cattle out here, and we transformed it to this.
We have a property that was a cattle farm as well up in Ocala, and it's funny how many things you find in the turf, in the ground, and we have barbed wire nailed to trees for the fencing. It's changed a lot over the last 50 to 75 years.
Yes.
And sometimes the properties don't change with the times. She's doing a really good job with this guy, and I think he's actually starting to settle even more and more. There, she shortens the reins for the medium walk, but he does get behind her there, and that, generally speaking, can cause an emptiness, and then you have to put your leg on to keep the horse going forward, and many times they jig. She's doing her leg yield, and he's just a little bit tight there laterally, so he's not making much of a crossing. She'll be glad to get into the canter.
Yeah, it's a nice transition.
Yeah. And now she shows very nice 15-meter circle there.
Seems like it could be a bit more forward.
Yes, I think you're right. That looked a little bit more like a square at the end. Now she has to go forward because the movement is calling for a lengthening of the stride. Again, this horse is the same as the last, but the quarters are in. Now it could be the camera angle, but it looked to me like the horse is not quite straight. And going away from the judge, that's the first thing I see. Now one last stretchy circle. So this is interesting. You see how the horse drops its neck down, but it's not opening its throat enough. And so what happens is the horse is because it doesn't change the angle of its throat, it actually, as it drops its neck, it gets behind the vertical. And she would be marked down for that because that means the horse is not staying connected. It's the hind legs that push the neck out. Very well. I was just going to compliment it, but now he's doing a tap dance, which is also very common to see in the thoroughbreds.
Yes.
But she did a great job. She really did.
Yeah. got the second score in for Sonia, 31.7, with a 66.09 for the judge at C and a 70.43 for the judge at B.
And Melissa Paul on Uptown Indy has also come in. She's just a little tiny bit ahead of Sonia on a 31.4, so that's only a 0.3 difference. The judge at C gave her a 66.74, and the judge at B gave her 70.43, which is exactly the same score that Sonia got. And the judges there are sitting at very different places in the arena, so they actually see it from different angles, and that's why there's the discrepancy in those scores. It's very normal to have, sort of up to 3 percentage point difference, but as it starts to get even wider between the two judges, then that's when there can actually be a query from the rider where the judges have to discuss it if, say, it's 10 percentage points difference.
Yeah. Is there a threshold of point difference where they're required to have a meeting?
I think it's 10 points. I think 10 percentage points. That's a lot.
Yeah.
It's like, are we watching the same horse?
And that's also the purpose of the test ride, I believe, is so that they kind of get on the same page.
Absolutely.
With each
other. They score the test, and then they actually get out of their judges' stands and they get together and they go through the marks that each one gave it to see if they're on the same page, so to speak. Our next horse and rider, we have, well, I think you pronounce it Cowed Poker, and the rider is Donna Miller. And Donna Miller has competed this horse in 2 FEI classes before coming to Terra Nova. She showed the horse in a CCI1 star intro both times. First time at Ocala, Florida Horse Park, and the second time in Aiken in South Carolina. And she's placed in both of those, so the dressage is okay. It's in the 30s so far, so we'll see how she does today.
And this is a stallion, I believe.
It is a stallion. It's a 2012 stallion, so he's a 9-year-old stallion. Doesn't, actually, by my records, I don't see the breed. It's a Connemara.
Connemara.
Looks like a Connemara. So its stallion we don't see very often in eventing, and it's interesting. Connemara stallion, he's just as cute as can be.
He is.
But as they go up the levels, it's pretty well a known fact worldwide that the stallions on the cross country at the very, very highest level, they struggle with the endurance aspect. Now, of course, there are horses that have proven us wrong. The father of Tessera Lake that Boyd Martin rides, that horse's sire is Windfall, and of course he was a very famous stallion and went on to Pan American Games and Olympic Games. And then the other horse that's so popular was Chilly Morning that William Fox Pitt rode to several wins at the highest level. So it can be done, but it has to have that the part of their heart and their will to succeed and their will to win that really gets them across that finish line in the time. Oh, he's a little bit unsettled there. That's a tough thing to know what to do in that moment. You can feel the horse start to shift its weight, and that's the time to get out of there.
Yeah.
Don't, usually it's not very successful when you try to just make them stand still, then you get the proper tap dance. And they just get anxious.
Yes. As the day goes on, I'm guessing the atmosphere here is going to pick up a bit.
We have 3 arenas in this ring at the moment, and 2 of them are active, the one that you're watching, but also the national intermediate class. But we're following the FEI classes today. Tomorrow we will have the live stream right through the day for the FEI classes and the national classes, which is very, we're super excited that you have been able to get that done. I imagine, your beginner rider or your starter rider is going to be on worldwide live stream watching the cross country, which means it gives everybody an opportunity, the relatives of each person, an opportunity to watch their ride.
Yeah, that's one thing that we really wanted to do here, is make it a special experience for all the levels.
Well, just driving in, it felt pretty special. You have magnificent gates at the entrance, and it's just been so well planned out. The permanent stable that you have, your barn, is gorgeous.
Oh, thank you.
We'll try to entertain you guys with a couple of shots of the property and the stable from a distance from where the cameras are. We'll try to do that at the break for a second. Now, she's doing her stretchy circle. Not much stretch, and I think, again, that's probably because he's just a little bit nervous out there.
Mm-hmm.
Coming down for the final halt. Now, that was a beautiful
Nice halt, yes.
Good boy.
He's very cute.
He sure is.
Looks like we maybe only have 4 more to go in the 1-star.
Yes. That was probably one of the difficult things about running this event for you all, is that you're in competing for the date with the Haggard Kentucky Horse Park 3-day event is also going on this weekend, and the calendar is so difficult to get it to be jiving, and so everybody's happy and not having to compete against another event that riders can go to.
Yes.
I know a lot of people that are at Haggard are actually on their way to Florida.
Are they?
Yeah, so they went to Kentucky Horse Park to do that event, and then they're continuing on down south.
Yeah, the international classes were originally going to run at WEC, and then when that wasn't able to happen, we wanted to step up and run those classes here.
Right. Well, and that's another wonderful facility that we now have in Ocala, is the World Equestrian Center, and wow, is that becoming the standard,
yes.
The national standard of horse show. It's just impeccable, and they have a 5-star resort right there on the site. It's just fantastic, and it just keeps growing. And the Roberts family that owned the World Equestrian Center also bought the Jockey Club. And so originally they were going to have the eventing at the World Equestrian Center, and now what I understand is the idea is that they would produce the Jockey Club to be the site.
I think that's right.
So what happens next year for the dates? Have you guys secured dates?
Next year we're going to be running on this weekend again in October, and then starting in 2023 we will be doing the 4-star long at the end of November. And
wow, that's great.
Yeah, we have that 2023 to 2027, and then we'll have our short FEIs in the spring.
Wow, that's wonderful.
Yeah, we're really excited for that.
And coming down center line right now is Elle Strout riding Karmic Calling. Karmic Calling is a 2012 bay gelding, and he's done a couple of competitions at the FEI level in the intro. He went to Aiken as well, finished 13th with he had a 20 on his cross country, brought him down the order. So she'll be looking to improve on that score. Dressage scores sort of in the 30s, anywhere. She did have a 28.7 in Rocking Horse in January of this year, but other than that, it's been pretty much in the 30s. So far, so good at this moment.
Mm-hmm.
He's a little bit low in his frame, and as he goes down with his neck, he actually tightens his throat, so he drops behind the vertical. One of the directives of the judges is that the horse must be at least on the vertical or slightly in front of the vertical with contact, that the horse is pushing from behind and taking your hand forward. And then it all comes down to the raw ability for the horse to sit and push his way into the movements, not pull from his front end, but push from the hind end. Lengthening's very nice.
Very nice.
Now let's just see if she can make a transition. All comes down to balance. And you can see when he goes into the trot, he sort of breaks into the trot, and he uses her hands for his balance. And, you know, we always say, well, the horse only has 4 legs, don't give him 5. Now lengthen, show some lengthening steps, rising. She's a little bit behind the vertical herself. She's leaning back, trying to support him. And the support really has to come from the leg, getting the hind legs to bend, and then, and this is what happens. The horse wants to get away from any kind of connection, so he steps back to release the pressure. This is, for me, an opportunity for the riders to, if the horse is a little bit behind the leg, to just let the neck get out and really swing with your hips and get the walk to go all the way through its body, so that it is coming from behind in the free walk. If you're a little bit tentative or cautious, when you go to shorten the reins, you might have a little trouble.
Yeah, it'd be nice to see his walk a bit more forward.
Yeah, I think he's going to get time faults.
Well, the 1-star test seems quite long. When I was watching the test ride earlier, I didn't know the test at that point.
Yeah, and I think it's long because it's in a big arena. You know, it just takes longer to get around. I'm not sure if perhaps the standard arena would be a smarter idea for the FEI to have at this level. I'm sure I'm going to get texts from some judges saying, I don't know what I'm talking about. Stay out of it.
Looks like we have Missy Miller's score in now. She scored a 38.6 with a 58.26 from the judge at C and a 64.57 from the judge at B. And Laura's score just came in as well. 66.09 from the judge at C and a 67.39 from the judge at B for a 33.3, which puts her in 4th place at the moment.
If you're Irish, you'd be saying 33 and a turd. 33 and a turd. And coming down for a final halt, and you can see he doesn't finish behind. So she has some work to do over the winter to get this horse to really sit and push from behind so that the horse has more freedom of the shoulders, and she's able to do clean transitions as well. But it's developmental. What a gorgeous day.
Yeah, we really did luck out with the weather.
So our next rider is probably the most experienced of the entire division. This is Sinead Maynard. And Sinead lives in Ocala. She rides multiple horses. She's ridden to the 5-star level and been successful. She was second at Burley not so long ago, and that is a huge accomplishment. Today she rides Old Court Graffin Dance, and that horse is owned by Alyssa Cairo, 2010 Irish Sport Horse mare.
And we now have our list of the riders and what charities they're riding for. So Sinead is riding for Meals on Wheels.
I think that's really awesome. So how does the charity work?
So they'll take the cumulative score of all the riders on the team.
The whole 50.
The whole 50, right? Yep. And then the first, at the end of the weekend, we'll probably do an update each day. But the final score, first place charity will receive $10,000, and second place and third place will receive prize money as well.
Well, that's awesome. That is so great that you're considering the entire community and not just what they can do for you, but what you can do for the community. It's really terrific.
And we have Meals on Wheels and Smart actually have donation boxes on site, and we've got a lot of donations from riders for Smart donating tack and things that they really need for their facility.
And Smart, what do those letters stand for? Do they stand for?
Sarasota Manatee Association for Riding Therapy.
Oh, wonderful. That was a pretty good quiz there. I'm impressed that you rattle it off. She doesn't have any notes in front of her, by the way, you guys. I do.
Nice transition there.
So this horse has had a few riders since 2019. Catherine Henderson rode the horse until 2020, at which point then Robin Walker rode the horse in a few events, and Sinead started riding this horse. Her first event was in May of this year, and this is her 6th event on the horse. She's done a couple of did trainings and a couple of modifieds. Her scores have always been in the 20s. Her best score being a 26.2. He's won a couple of events this year. He won Chat Hills twice, the first time in February and the second time in April. So a nice competitive horse. I think that Lauren's Test, again, she's also a very experienced rider. I think Lauren's Test is going to be a little bit hard to beat today.
I agree.
She was just so smooth and so accurate. It was a real pleasant look.
Seems like this horse has a bit more stretch in the free walk than some of the last couple.
And I think it's really relative to how settled the horse is. Mm-hmm. You know, how brave are you going to be in the free walk is directly, related to how settled the horse is and how obedient they are.
Seems like the best free walks always come when you're exiting the arena after your last
Well,
halt.
Have you ever seen a horse jig out of the arena? Not very often.
No.
And, when you do your final salute and you drop the reins and take a deep breath, so does the horse.
Yeah.
And that's what they're looking for, is that feeling. When I did my test, I always made myself pretend that I had finished the test in my free walks and my extended walks. And by the same token, when you finish your test, a lot of people are just they just let everything go. And I always tried to make sure that it was the same as what I tried to produce in the actual movement, so that the horse feels it all the time. It looks like Concha's in as well, but it could really be the camera angle, because as he comes around the corner, he's straight.
seems like several horses have the haunches in slightly during the lengthen. What would you say was
I think
the reason
generally
for that?
speaking, when horses trot and turn, they usually release the pressure by swinging out with their haunches, and in the canter they do the opposite because of the footfall of the gait. They end up bringing their hind end to the inside to release the pressure. Now I have the leg yield, no, the final halt, and didn't really finish the halt with the leg. Just a bit busy in the mouth.
Mm-hmm.
But overall, a nice test.
So it looks like Lauren's still in the lead.
On that 72.4%, which gives her a 27.6. And it's quite a good lead. She has, her second place is Melissa Paul, and that's on a 31.4, and then a 31.7 from Sonia. It's not enough to have a rail in hand by 0.2. But I think that Lauren, when I asked her about the horse yesterday, she said it's a really classic jumper. So, and it's also a little bit spooky, which is good because that means it goes quite careful and high over its jumps. We like them just a little bit spooky in the right way. That is our final horse of the CCI 1-star short. Our next horse is going to start at 9:17. So we have a little bit of a break, and it would be really fun if maybe we can see that's part of the cross-country course in the background. And then as the camera moves, we'll see if we can get them to show a bit of the property. So that's your stable in the background. That's not a bad place to have a horse. I want to have a tour of that. It looks like a palace.
We've been in there for about a year now. We've really enjoyed it.
And then if we go to the right, that's in the right-hand corner. That's where the cross country is. But you have beautiful sort of lake in front of us, and it looks like the property goes quite far back.
Yes. So the cross country goes around. Now you can see there's kind of a gallop track that comes behind the vendor tents there, and it goes towards the back behind the warm-up rings. And we've got tailgating back there. They'll jump into one of the back rings over our lifeguard stands that are modeled after some lifeguard stands at Siesta Key Beach locally here.
Is that the one that's 20 minutes away? Or?
That one's a little bit farther.
Yeah.
There's a couple that are a little bit closer.
Yeah.
Then they'll jump out of the ring over a jump that they built modeled after the barn, which the detail...
Jump out of which ring?
Our last ring, which is way behind.
I see it, way out there, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So the builders did an amazing job with the specialty jumps that we have.
Yeah. While we're all having a little bit of a break, we can also talk about some of the other sponsors. B&D Builders, they are a proud sponsor of Terra Nova here for the first event. Located in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, B&D builds fine custom equestrian facilities that will really exceed your expectations, and I gather that they built your stable.
They did.
So it's you can see that in the background. It's absolutely stunning.
They are scheduled to build the permanent stabling here as well.
And how many stalls will you build?
We are going to start with 2 barns of roughly 200 stalls. So as soon as this event is done, they're going to get right to work on that. So next year,
permanent
we
stabling.
should hopefully have permanent
That's
stabling.
so exciting.
Yeah.
Just wonderful. And they're from Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, so it's a bit of a hike for them to bring all their equipment. So they must have stayed here for a while.
Yes, they actually love coming down here in the winter versus Pennsylvania.
Of course.
They came and stayed to build the barn, and they've been amazing to work with, and the craftsmanship is incredible. And Leibold Irrigation is also one of our top sponsors, and they've done all of our irrigation here for all of our arenas and all the cross country. And they've got a lot of experience in the golf world, and they've done some pretty incredible courses.
Like irrigation at Augusta,
yes.
Which is, unbelievable golf course. And then Pebble Beach. I mean, they've done irrigation in these 3 of the most famous golf courses that we have in this country, Kennebunkport and Pebble Beach and Augusta. Doesn't get much better than that, so they obviously come highly recommended.
Yes. So they've done a great job in coming into the equestrian space and figuring it all out. I think they've had a lot of fun doing something a bit different.
Yeah, it's really awesome. You must have had so much fun just planning this all out.
It was really fun to have I've kind of had a vision for the place, and I've had a lot of help from experts in the industry guiding that vision and making it all work.
Well, and Sarah Murphy has had a lot of time with you guys.
Yes,
planning.
Sarah's, she calls herself my enabler sometimes, or
The
our
enabler. I see.
So she's helped us get the vision on track and connect us with the right people that we needed to make this event happen.
That's
and
great.
She's been out there working all week. She's helped with everything from decorating the cross-country course to helping us coordinate this live stream. So
Well, there's one thing about Sarah is there's no job beneath her.
no.
She doesn't mind getting her hands dirty
Yes.
and working until late hours of the night. So we really appreciate that effort as well. And it makes a really great connection within the eventing community. And will you be running competitions in any other disciplines?
Yes, we have a split rock jumping tour at the end of January in 2022, and then we'll have 3 weeks of our own hunter jumper competition in March this
Fantastic.
coming year. Yeah.
That's awesome. Another sponsor is Blaylock Walters Law Firm. They provide high quality and personal and comprehensive legal services to businesses and individuals. And they are local?
They are.
Yeah.
Yes.
The thing that I love the most about this time of the year is it's just one day after another. It's just beautiful weather. It gets up into sort of what the high 70s or low 80s, and we don't have the temperatures in the high 90s anymore, and it's beautiful. And there's not so much of the heavy feeling. The air is very light.
Yes.
Not the humidity.
Once it gets below the 90s, everyone in this area is like, fall's here.
Yeah. And it lasts like this until sort of January. And then we only have, you're 2.5 hours south of us, so you have
Yes.
even less cold weather, but we only have probably about 3 weeks where we're not sure if it's going to be below freezing. And that's it, and then it starts to climb back up. And I spent the summer down here this year, and and I did last year as well. It's remarkable how you just get used to the weather in the summer, and you just get up early and get things done. It gets just as hot in Virginia. It just gets hotter earlier in the day and stays hot.
Yeah.
So
It seems like you can definitely tell the horses that live in Florida year-round from the ones that don't. They seem to adjust to the climate here most of the time.
we also have another sponsor, Clear Channel Radio Production, and they have let's see, Boyd Insurance and Investments is a family-owned business with more than 45 years of experience serving the Tampa Bay area. Their team offers a broad selection of insurance carriers, products, and investments to help you and your family and your business through all of life's seasons. With decades of experience, Boyd also offers comprehensive employee benefits packages, giving you the edge you need to hire and retain quality and dedicated staff. So to get started, visit BoydInsurance.com. So we still have our next horses at 9:17. This is the CCI scoreboard as you see it. Lorna obviously is in the lead, and these are in percentages. So this is a 72.4%. Melissa Paul is on a 68.6. Sonia Crampton on Bonham Flash, 68.3. That's very close. Laura Vanderfleet, Papamak, 66.7%. Donna Miller and Cow Poker on the nice Connemara is 64.6. Missy Miller Allegretto, 61.4. And it says you, Hannah, but that you didn't actually do the test ride, did you?
I did not. Sarah Kelson did the test ride. She actually did a catch ride on one of our horses here.
That's good.
She did a lovely job with him. She'd only ridden him a couple days beforehand and jumped in there and helped us out with the test ride.
Well, we're going to sign off for the next sort of 10 minutes. We'll be back with you probably 2 minutes before the first horse goes down center line, and that will be in the CCI 3-star, and that'll be Devin Brown with HC Celtic Mark. We'll see you in 10 minutes.